All right, thanks again to our panel here to join us for this discussion on the future of the Waccamaw region's economy from a historical perspective. The way this will all work is each panelist will be given time to talk about their perspective of the region's economy. At the end of all of that, we will have a quick question and answer session where the audience will be able to ask questions of these panelists. I've got a couple for you too, some wild cards out there to keep you on your toes. In the order in which we'll go with Coach Moglia first, Michael, Ms. Davis, President Benson, and then Dr. Salvino will round it out here this morning. So, Coach?
Well, first of all, I'm delighted that you explained to everybody that you're Joey Katz, but your real name is something else altogether. Like, I'm Joey Mogs from the Bronx. So as I was thinking about what I would talk about here today, I thought a little bit in terms of maybe I can make some sort of a suggestion that's worth considering as far as our future goes and where we are today and really where we're going to be 10 years from now. And that's going to require significant growth. Significant growth usually requires change. So when I think about, who we are today, I mean, we are in a great spot. We've got a great area. It's got great growth. It's got a great quality of life. I'm proud to be part of that. But it's also an area led by tourism and hospitality. And when you're led by tourism and hospitality, it's incredibly influenced by things we really don't have control over. What's going on with not just the local economy, but the national economy. What even perhaps is going on with the global economy. What's going on with seasonality. We can't do too much about that. How about the weather? We can't do a whole lot about that. So when a big part of who you are is focused in a particular area that's controlled by a lot of things outside, that can be affected by a lot of things outside your control, you've got to think about diversifying your revenues. So how indeed do you go about that? Now, diversifying revenues means you've got to think about different revenue streams than you actually have today. So in my mind, I think if you go back to 1995, the advent of the internet, over the span of the last 25, 27 years, what has led most of the growth in our country and most of the growth around developed countries around the world has been technology. And I know we've got technology here, but to what extent can we really attract real technology to have a significant impact? So 10 years from now, we have real, absolute overall growth, the types of which maybe we didn't think about today. And I'm sure we're thinking about all those things. But as I said, to have revenue diversification, it requires change. Change is not always easy. When I was a kid growing up, my dad was born in Italy. He came over here when he was 11. He never finished 8th grade. He sold bananas and apples in the Bronx his entire life. I worked for him from the time I was 10 to the time I was 22. While I was working for him, at probably 15, 16 years old, supermarkets started to become really, really big. And we had a little fruit store, but you weren't allowed to touch the fruit. You had somebody waiting on you, had to put the fruit in the bag and put it on a scale. And I said to Dad, Dad, you really got to think about doing something in the supermarket business. He said, no, we need to do it this way. This is the way only people are going to ever buy the fruits and vegetables. Well, obviously, that was a mistake on Dad's part. But the reason for that, and I learned that all the time, he was just reluctant to change. He was afraid to change. He was comfortable where he is. We've got a great community, and it's too easy. Now, I know, by the way, as a real estate agent, you got to keep hustling. I know that. But we got a great community. And when you have a great community, you tend to be a little bit comfortable with regard to where things are. Jordan mentioned in 2001, I took the job at Ameritrade, and frankly, we were going out of business at the time. And that was an issue. I left one of the finest global conglomerates in the world in Merrill Lynch, and I'm going to a firm that's potentially going out of business. What I recognized, though, early on, one of the reasons why we had a problem is because we looked at ourselves as a financial service company. The reality was we weren't a financial service company. We were a technology company in a financial service wrapper. And the feedback I was getting from analysts on Wall Street was, the reason, because you are a technology company, you're finally figuring that out, you can't attract the right technology talent in Omaha. You can't do that. I said, Omaha is a great town. It's a great city. It's got great education. It cares about its people. It's family-oriented. It's a welcoming community. It's got diverse businesses. It's got a lot of things similar to what we have, except instead of an ocean, they've got snow. But that's a fair trade-off. But at the end of the day, kind of in recruiting and football, when you bring in a recruit in for the weekend, he's hosted by one of the players. So when we started bringing technology talent, that person was actually hosted by one of our senior people. And that turned out very, very well for us. But the advice was you can't stay in Omaha. You can't stay in Omaha to track technology. Well, clearly I didn't believe that. So you think about the great technology firms of today. Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Intel. The list goes on, of course. And, to what extent have we reached out to them? To what extent? Every one of them have facilities all over the globe. They have facilities all over the United States. Would they consider a facility in Myrtle Beach or in Horry County or in Waccamaw, in our area, in our community? I said, well, they really may be too big for us. Well, okay, they all started as little itsy-bitsy baby companies. Amazon began as a little tiny company in a backyard someplace in Seattle. So as we think about the future, are there, and I'm not just talking about individual talent, I'm talking about businesses. Are there startups that really seem to make sense? Are there small and mid-cap companies that potentially might want to expand? And if they think about it, and if recruited, would this area be an area that they would come to? In my heart, I believe that the answer to that is yes. So you think, what is it, so where do we start? Well, first of all, we've got a lot of pluses. We've got great local government. We have a wonderful school system. I think we've got a great university that's really up and rising. In fact, I think sometimes we underestimate the impact of coastal, on our overall community. We've got great hospitality, of course, and tourism. We've talked about that. We've got great healthcare and hospitals. And we've got even, like with regard to Walmart several years ago was really struggling, and they made a major decision to kind of stop the way they were doing business and to shift to technology. The stock went down considerably, but it zoomed back, and maybe we can get some tips from them in terms of how they made that transition. They might even be able to help us with regard to that. So that's about us, though. That's what we have. And as real estate agents, for example, everything I just said, that's what you talk to, that's what you say to somebody that's coming into the community, right? This is what we're about. We have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. But we're talking about what we have. So if we're going to recruit technology companies, we got to think about what matters to them. We really got to focus on that. So what might that be? It might be a little bit different from company to company. Amazon probably has different interests than what a small cap company would be, or certainly a startup. So certainly off the top of my head, tax incentives would be one of those. But to what extent can we really seriously put together a game plan, a marketing plan, to go out and try to induce some of these companies to be able to seriously consider coming to our area? Now, if we're able to do that, the technology itself will attract more technology. The technology will enhance and leverage the businesses and the strengths that we already have, whether it's our school system, whether it's hospitality, whether it's research and development, or whether it's a hospital system. It will do that. It will do that. Growth, real growth, solves most of your problems. Growth solves most of your problems. So when you worry about cost, you worry about this, you worry about that, recognize how significant growth is to be able to get us where we want to get to. And remember, I'm talking about a significant change between now and where we might be 10 years from now. So are we willing to be able to do that? Is that something that we can do? I think the answer, again, is yes. And I think our greatest strength, though, at the end of the day, is our people. And I think, I couldn't be prouder to be part of the community. I do have the ability. I'm fortunate enough to be able to live anywhere I want, and I choose to live here. This is where I live. This is where I call my home. And because of my accent, I get challenged with that a little bit. But I'm ready to defend myself. I take out my sword, and I'm whipping it around. I'm stabbing people, ready to defend myself. So I begin with, first of all, I coach a football program that was in South Carolina. Secondly, I'm responsible for a football program, college football program, that's in South Carolina. Third, I'm executive advisor to the president of Coast Carolina University, by the way, which is in South Carolina. By the way, my favorite club, which just happens to be this one, is in South Carolina. My favorite restaurant is in South Carolina. Where I like to go the most for breakfast happens to be in South Carolina. I have a driver's license. You know what it is? South Carolina. I've got a daughter that lives in South Carolina. I've got a granddaughter that lives in South Carolina. I've got a future son-in-law who's a fiance of my granddaughter who not only lives in South Carolina, but works for Horry County's firefighters. He's a firefighter for us in Horry County. So at the end of the day, well, I may not sound like it, I am absolutely a full-blown South Carolinian. So. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Coach. Where's Kobe? Kobe? Why do I go after the coach? That's a tough act to follow. You know that, don't you? Well, welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I'll take up about 5 minutes of your time. First of all, I'm very humbled sitting up here with the 4 people that I'm sitting up here with. A very, very prestigious group. We're lucky to have them in this community. I can tell you that for sure. I was asked to give a little bit of history of me and my real estate career, and I can start out by telling you I moved here in 1976 from a little small town in southwestern Virginia called Pulaski. My mom was the executive director, who happens to be here. Mom, welcome, as is my wife, Victoria, welcome, and some of my sales professionals. Thank y'all for coming. But she was executive director of the Pulaski County Chamber of Commerce. Well, the reason we got down here to Myrtle Beach is because a couple of the business people from our area here would come through Pulaski and always promote Myrtle Beach. They called them caravans. This was way before most of you even were born, but that's how they would promote Myrtle Beach. You know, there were no computers and no cell phones or anything like that. You had to go face to face. So anyhow, we moved down here in 1976. The first 2 months that I spent down here, I hated it. People are like going, you hated it? Why? Well, when you're 11 years old, you've got your buddies and your friends all back home. But I spent about 2 months on the beach, and I'm like, oh, Mom, thank you so much for moving me to Myrtle Beach out of the mountains of Virginia. Beautiful area, but I'm so glad we moved down here. My dad and sister came a year later, and as we would meet every evening at 6 o'clock and sit down and have dinner, with Mom being hired as the very first executive director of the North Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce, we had our finger on the pulse with the economy, with the visitors, with tourists and everybody that was coming here. So here I was, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and every evening we would talk about Myrtle Beach and its growth and, more importantly, the potential. So in about 1980, my dad got his real estate license. 2 years later, after Mom left the chamber, she got her real estate license. And in 1984, I got my real estate license. So it's kind of a family thing in our family. When my dad got his real estate license, interest rates were 20%. When my mom and I got our real estate license, it was 18%. And I remember us walking around like going, the few realtors that we had in our area, it's a little bit different now. The few that we had, we'd be like going, oh my God, if the interest rates would just get down to 10%, we would sell Myrtle Beach out. So that just kind of lets you know that whatever happens to our area, interest-wise or anyhow, we can overcome it, and we will overcome it. So we're at, 6.5% now, I think, something like that. I mean, that's just a temporary thing. Most people get a 30-year mortgage. Start today and go back 30 years and see how many ups and downs the interest rates went. So the difference in 3%, the lowest it's ever been, and 6.5% and what it is now, is really not that much. And it's going to come down. It may go up a little more, but I promise you it's going to come down. So that's just to give you a little history of the interest rates. Anyhow, during the 1980s, when we got our real estate license, the golf industry exploded here in Myrtle Beach. We got up to 125 courses. 125, maybe a little more. I know it was 125. So what that did for our economy is we went from a 3-month vacation destination. Labor Day, you could roll up the sidewalks. Saturday night, stand on 17 for 2 hours and a car wouldn't come by, to a 9-month vacation destination. The golfers took the shoulder seasons, that's what we called it. Main in the middle, shoulder seasons in the spring and fall. January, February, and March, September, October, and November. So we became a 9-month vacation destination. Well, the 1st of June, we always had the Canadian American Days, the Can-Am Days. And my mom was very involved in that as I was growing up. And we started getting very popular with the Canadians. So what they started doing would come down and play instead of coming in the summer, they would come down and play on our shoulder seasons, play golf. Then they're like going, oh my gosh, Myrtle Beach is fabulous. We love Myrtle Beach. All the golf courses is heaven. our kids and wives can enjoy the beach. We can play golf. I mean, it was a paradise. So what happened then is we became a snowbird destination. So our December, January, and February months, we would have a lot of snowbirds come down, mostly Canadians, but it reached into New York, New Jersey. So then we became a year-round vacation destination. Well, what does that do? That increases your real estate buyers because they come down here and they love it. Their children grow up here, so their children have fond memories, and then they end up buying real estate here. So after we became a year-round vacation destination, we were wondering, why does everybody come? We're getting so popular. We've gone from, I remember, 10 million visitors to 12 million visitors to 15 million visitors. We're like going, what's making it so popular? And it's been spoke about this morning. Our friendly atmosphere, our subtropical climate, obviously our beautiful, beautiful beaches, our cost of living, and our cost of real estate. We still to this day are very, very attractive and the most affordable real estate up and down the entire East Coast. And we've got everything to offer here. So for you students that are here, just remember that a lot of us have made our careers and have become somewhat successful on being in real estate here. And what everybody's doing, Dr. Salvino, Kobe, what you guys are doing over at Coastal, Mr. Grant, is changing lives. And the students over there, you guys have an incredible opportunity. You're not only going to one of the finest colleges in the United States. What a great area. What a great area. You got the beach. I mean, who doesn't have salt water in their veins after they're down here for 2 or 3 months? And you've got an opportunity to be involved in one of the top real estate investing, buying, selling communities in the country, in the world for that matter. So hats off to all the leaders here that's focused on that. Probably the most important aspect and why we are the second most visited place along the East Coast is 60% of the population of North America can get to Myrtle Beach in a day's drive. 60% of North America. And that right there will always keep Myrtle Beach head and shoulders above most places in the real estate industry. So it's a family, most people like to drive with their family. Most people don't want to have 2 or 3 or 4 kids, in my case, and put them on a plane. They want to drive. So that's always going to make this very, very attractive area to come. So, and what I remember, 10, 12, 15 million, every year now we get over 20 million. I think we hit 22 million last year. I don't know if Karen is here, Ms. Warden with the chamber, but I think we hit 22 million last year. That's more visitors than Miami. That's more visitors than Fort Lauderdale. So if you really think about it, I mean, again, like Coach said, a lot of things we take for granted, but I mean, it's amazing what we do here. I mean, it's amazing. Our hospitality industry, thanks so much to the Britons and other fine people here, I mean, are so welcoming. They get people here, and that helps us all in so many ways. We got 3.5 million passengers come through our airport. Seems like yesterday we hit 1 million. I mean, seriously, I think that was only about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. 3.5 million people are flying in and out of here. I mean, it's amazing. And again, we're the number 2 vacation destination on the East Coast. Number 2, only behind Orlando, Florida. And obviously we know what Orlando has. So hats off to everyone in here that's in the hospitality business. Thank you for all you do for us. The residential real estate has always been great in Myrtle Beach, obviously. And now the commercial real estate has really taken a step up. And I mean, we're trying to find things that people want to buy. It's not out there. It's not out there. So what we're having to do is we're having to say, hey, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to create it. I've experienced it myself. I was looking for a strip shopping center for 1.5 years that I wanted to buy. And they were either in the not so desirable area, or they needed a complete facelift, or, the cap rate was really low. The sales price was a little too high. So I had to create it. You just sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and create what you need. And that's what's happening in the real estate industry as far as what's happened with me. Students, again, you have an incredible opportunity. You've got an incredible university. We've got Horry Georgetown Technical College, that is the best technical college in the entire state of South Carolina. I mean, we have so many resources here for you students, and just take advantage of them. So with that being said, the question is, what's the future like for us here in Myrtle Beach? Pretty dang good.
Good morning. I feel like my 5 minutes is going to be a little less than Michael's was. First of all, I am Sandy Davis. I grew up in Horry County. I know by my accent you cannot tell, unlike Joe's, but I was born in New Jersey. But my mom is from here. I came here whenever I was 2 years old, and I have attended college here. My office is currently at Horry Georgetown Technical College. I started there also. Was able to teach for a semester to see the hard work those professors have over there, and it just gives you a whole different level of understanding whenever you see the students that they work with every day when you've been on the other side of the table. And I feel like Horry Georgetown Technical College and Coastal Carolina University do an awesome job of working with our students and helping them prepare for the workforce that we need. My biggest challenge, I guess, is workforce. So that's every place in the U.S. right now that we're hearing it from. It makes my job easy to recruit. When you are meeting with manufacturing and they say, well, we used to have a lot of people here in manufacturing, but we're losing that. And I'll say, well, we have this great program, advanced manufacturing, at Horry Georgetown Technical College, state-of-the-art, new facilities in both Horry and Georgetown County. And they say, do you have people? Do you have people that sign up for that program? And we do. We actually have a waiting list for the Conway campus most of the time. That is something that is unheard of in areas who are very familiar with having a lot of industry. So even though we may be a little bit behind time on having a big industrial pool in our area, you can tell that we are training the workforce, and it is helping us to diversify the economy. So as I listen to everyone speak here today, I think about how their roles all play a big value for us at the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development, because our job is to recruit industry and retain industry. So we are currently working to be able to do that. And someone said earlier that we're known, I think it was you, Mr. Britton, that we're known for being Myrtle Beach. Even though we're a region, everyone knows the name Myrtle Beach. And that is what I hear when we are recruiting companies all the time. If it's a lead generation call that we have, or a company that we meet at an event, they always say, you're recruiting industry in Myrtle Beach? I'm like, yes. They're like, well, we visited there for golf, but we didn't really know that you have an industrial area. Who would want to put their manufacturing out on the beach? And don't you have hurricanes? And so we get these questions all the time. And actually, a lot of people think we do have hurricanes, but we are usually just forecasted to be hit by the hurricane, but we somehow manage to come out usually on the better side. So we do have several industrial parks throughout the county. Most of them are publicly owned, but we do have Water Tower Road that is privately owned. We recently did the Pepsi groundbreaking there. If we had not had that park, we would have lost Pepsi to North Carolina. So we were very excited that we had that underway. We also had the FedEx announcement. I'm sure many of you are aware of their building, 251,000 square foot distribution center. That's due to growth. Due to growth in our area, more online ordering, as you've heard today. Those are the types of things that we set out to recruit to our area, because we need them. We need them to make the quality of life good for all of you, to be able to get your packages sooner. I know everyone is addicted to Amazon, just as I am, but we want to be able to get that quicker, not only to people at home ordering, but people at home working. After COVID, working from home became a huge possibility for many people. And what better place to do it than here in Myrtle Beach? We've sent out postcards, sitting on the beach, holding a laptop. You can do that here. It's a different workforce. It's not actually what we are recruiting, but we're happy to say if we can have more people in our area who can work and are at the age to work, we definitely want them here because we are a retirement community. The good thing for us, what we are learning in the retirement community, they're not from South Carolina, but when they move here, they were able to retire at 40. So somehow we're doing it wrong here, but they are retiring at 40. Up north, they're moving here, and they are becoming some of our best plant managers in our industries. So we are thankful for the retirees as well. Just everything together makes it beneficial for us. When we were asked to look back over the past 10 years, I thought about more than, I think we're around 7.5% unemployment when I began at the EDC like 13 years ago, and now we're under 4%. So I feel like we've done a lot of things to change the dynamics here and to get people working. We do a lot on the training side. The great thing about Coastal Carolina University and Horry Georgetown Technical College is both are a part of our board. They see the needs. When we have a company, if we do not offer that particular job training, they find a way to put it in there. I'll also say Horry County Schools has been working with us to do that as well, depending on the level of the skill that you would need. So I do think we also have health care. Our health care is a big asset for us. You used to have, a primary doctor, and people say, well, right now it's hard to get in with a primary doctor. Well, it depends on who you're trying to go to. A lot of our medical facilities now have taken that burden away from our industries, and they will see you there and give you a primary doctor. So it's just so much goes together to make this work. I also wanted to speak on Ascot Valley Park. That was vacant when I looked back 10 years ago. During COVID, we completely filled that entire park with industry. When I say industry, we are manufacturing, distribution, technology, many different aspects that we all play into. That's what we are required to do. We want to diversify. We're not looking to bring in more tourism because the chambers can handle that. Our job is to diversify and try to keep our kids here. Not everyone's going to be a doctor or a lawyer, and I know you've heard that 55 times, but it is our job to let them know there are high-paying jobs in our area. We're just not always aware. How many of you are aware that we have over 200 industries in Horry County? Very few. So that is something that we are trying to do. We have 20 people going through an industry awareness course at the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development. These are 20 leaders in our community who can get the word out about these industries. Because a lot of times you will hear someone say, well, I wish we had some manufacturing in Horry County. My child would be great. They're not going to school to be a doctor or a lawyer, but they work so well with their hands. Well, guess what? We have it. If you need to know where we have it, please see me after, and I will be happy to educate you. And also, one of the other things that I was thinking about is the amount of people that we have here from 10 years ago. We've grown 100,000 people since then. And so, yes, we do need more workforce. We do need more places for them to work. I want my child to come home. I have an only child. So, of course, I'm forbidding him to move away. So I'm going to have to make sure he has somewhere to work. So I just think the biggest thing that I was thinking about when I was trying to put all of this together this week is teamwork. That's what it's really all about. No one person here can do it by ourselves. And it brings me back to a time that I had a company tell me that they went to a restaurant. And this is the thing people do not realize. I can be a great salesman. I can take them to Horry Georgetown Tech. Brandon Hazelden can sell them. Dr. Ford can sell them. Dr. Benson can sell them. My Horry County Council and many city council members that are in here can sell them. But if they go to eat at a restaurant and they ask the waitress, how do you like living here? And she says, it's awful. Do not come here. Do not get on 501. The traffic is crazy. Then everything that I worked so hard for the past 2 days all comes back to me on the third day. Well, we went out to eat last night and this lady told us about this. So I must admit I have taken a company before and avoided 501 at all costs because they told me that they did not want to be in a busy traffic area. Well, guess what? They located in the last parcel we had available in the Atlantic Center on Highway 501. I took them there at 3 o'clock. The roads were packed, but they were from Connecticut. Their interstate exit was 5 minutes from their facility, and he said it would take him an hour and a half to get that 5 minutes. So what we think is traffic is not traffic if you haven't lived anywhere else. If you travel like I do and you think 501 is bad, try sitting in the middle of New Jersey or New York or Connecticut at 5 o'clock. It's totally different. So I just think teamwork is the best. If we can all just be, I know we all love living here, because if you don't, you have the opportunity to move. So I think you should all remember that we want these things. I am very blunt. We want these things, but I need you to help us sell it. So remember that the next time someone asks you about your area. If you really do want change here, you want more technology, you want more industry, you want more diversification, sell us, help sell us, and be a part of Team Ori. Thank you.
I've learned there's a common denominator of all the panelists today. Robert, born in Philadelphia. Coach Moglia, born in New York City. I did not know that about Sandy, New Jersey. And Mike in Virginia. I was born in Utah. But we all got here to South Carolina as quick as we could. And we love it here. I want to start with a few thank yous. First, to Kobe and your team at the Grant Center. Look at the setting. How lucky are we to be here today and to talk about issues facing our community and to be in this setting. So I want to thank everybody on campus that had a role in putting this together. Dean Small, Robert, thank you very much. To Representative McGinnis, I don't think anybody forced him to run for office. It's time away from the famous toastery. It's time away from his family. And I'm grateful that he does such a superb job in representing us. So thank you very much, Representative McGinnis. Listen to Joey this afternoon, 6 o'clock first pitch. Coastal just cracked the top 40 in RPI. Hey, come on now. I got to get through the comments. Enough of the clapping, right? Right? Okay.
You got 3 minutes.
All right, okay, well. It's a Sandy 3 minutes, though, so here we go. To Clay Britton, what a prince of a man. I am so grateful to be a partner with Clay in so many laudable things here in this community, and his family has meant. I see his wife here today. His family has meant so much to our area. Clay, I thank you for what you've meant to this region. Sandy, Coach Moglia talked about diversification and technology. The Google subsea cable that is coming to shore at Myrtle Beach State Park does not happen without Sandy Davis. Now, we've all tried to divine the future and say all these ancillary companies will come and relocate here. We certainly hope that will happen. It won't just happen. As Sandy said, it will take teamwork. But that is a huge get for us. And I was there at the groundbreaking. The governor was there. We had all sorts of luminaries. But what that means for our region in terms of diversification and the saying we're one hurricane away from economic disaster, I think is so key. If there's a good cause in our area, Michael King is somehow involved with it. And Michael, I thank you for what you mean to our community. To Coach Moglia, he said it. He could live anywhere. That he chooses to be here, and he went through all the list of South Carolina things that he has. I was with him in New York City just about 10 days ago and had the privilege of having dinner with him and some of his friends. I don't know if we appreciate the people he has introduced to our community. Think about the fact that when we started playing football 20 years ago, whoever would imagine that we would open the 2023 season against UCLA in the Rose Bowl? Think about that. So, Coach Moglia, I thank you for what you've meant to me personally as a friend and to our university and to our community. I heard Clay he quoted Goethe today. Way to go, Clay. I'm going to quote Harry Truman, who said, "There is nothing new in the world except the history you do not know." Now, I'm an historian. I think we can learn all sorts of things from history and apply it to the present day. An example of what the Grant Center is doing. I'm going to give you two quick examples because they apply what they do to current, present-day, contemporary issues. I was in my office. I got a call from Tracy Connor. You all know Tracy. If you golf here, everybody knows Tracy. He wanted some kind of study on the impact of golf on our community. So I make a call to Robert. Robert, can you help with that? They pulled together some data. Again, points that probably help with the case to host a PGA event here. Again, I'm just surmising, but we were up on Capitol Hill a few weeks ago testifying before the House Subcommittee, Higher Education Subcommittee. And the issue came up about rural health and the universities and technical colleges producing enough people to address the really acute challenges in our communities, in rural communities. Gilda Cobb-Hunter, Representative Cobb-Hunter, wanted some statistics. And when it was my turn to testify, I immediately thought of the Grant Center. And they are providing those data points for that issue, among other things. So that gives you an example of, we talk about the campus, and sometimes higher ed's called the ivory tower. And if you're lucky, we'll get down from that tower and associate with the masses. That's not what it's about. It's about students, faculty, and staff applying their knowledge, the subject matter stuff that they know about, to real-day current issues facing our community and facing our state. And I thank you, Professor, for what you do. If you haven't been down to our Broadway at the Beach store, the Teal Nation store, please go down there and spend all your money because that eventually goes into the penny sales tax, which benefits all of us. And you all know what happened back in November. I want to thank Gary Loftus, the other elected officials we have, but more importantly, I want to thank the voters of Horry County, who, with nearly 69% of the vote, supported the renewal of the penny sales tax. I don't think anybody can appreciate what that means for our community. 80% goes to the school district. We get 13.3. Murph gets the rest at Horry Georgetown Tech. And we're so grateful that we have this reliable, sustainable kind of stream of revenue to help address some of our building needs. Some of those needs certainly are housing. You probably heard that we had our largest freshman class this last fall and nowhere to put some of them. So we appreciate the partnerships that we've formed with some private housing units along 544, but that also poses a serious safety threat for students trying to navigate to cross 544. Almost 30,000 cars a day go up and down 544. So I was in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday meeting with Senator Graham's staff about funding for a pedway that will convey our students safely across 544. And that's another way that we can have our brand along a very busy thoroughfare. I also want to mention the fact that we're trying our best. President Ford does this exceptionally well at Horry Georgetown. They're a little more nimble sometimes than we tend to be. They can turn and provide those certificate programs and degree programs. But we, in partnership with Horry Georgetown, which we've worked with for years, are offering a bachelor's degree in nursing. And I want to thank everyone that's helped us get to this point, because that is a response to the very pressing need we have in our county. For all those people that are moving here, they have healthcare needs. And together we can help address that, just like Francis Marion can, Clemson, USC, other universities in our state. The last thing I'll mention is we're in the process now of doing our campus master plan. We hired a firm called Boudreaux out of Columbia that just finished Conway, South Carolina's master plan. And if you haven't been on campus lately, I'm struck all the time by just how beautiful it is. And I've been in higher ed for 30 years. I've been on a lot of campuses. And there is a sense of pride that people take in our campus, because I believe that comes from the sense of ownership that the people that had the vision back in 1954 that wanted a four-year institution in their community. And today, as president, I'm honored to serve the institution that is based on this foundation of really unbelievable investment in our community into the university. And I thank you for it. And as all my fellow panelists have said, there's so much to be excited about. And we are so fortunate to live here, and I thank God every day that we are here. Thank you very much.
All right, Well, you've heard me talk enough, so I won't say very much at all. But I will say, someone asked me a good question a little bit earlier after my talk. What was the point of this entire event? And truly this year, as we look back through time, and I got to give some credit to Kobe, he's smarter than I realize, and a lot of other people maybe. Everybody else knows how smart he is, I'm sorry. But he said a historical perspective. We have a historian sitting up here on stage as the president of our university. And what I wanted to do was say, look, we have the expertise in the halls of Carolina. We have them in the region from Georgetown to the North Carolina line and all the way out, right? All the way out to, like to say, the hinterlands. There are people everywhere you turn who have expertise, and these people have been literally all over the world, right? And they've done things, they've seen things. And this started back when Clay Britton called me and asked about dialogue, and Sam Cooke, right, about dialogue. And we thought about that, and truly, that is the purpose of this event. And this is the way, I believe, that we will come together unified, as Mr. Britton said, is to have that dialogue. When you are talking with other people around the region, if there's something on your mind, ask the question, right? And you don't know what information might come back to you. So again, I've given my information. I don't need to speak anymore, but I appreciate everybody being here and thank the panel, more importantly, for joining us.
All right, again, a big thanks to the panelists for giving their perspective on the history, and now maybe we'll take some questions from the audience if you'd like, and I have a few as well, maybe about what the future holds and some of the hurdles or challenges that we might face and how we can address that in a short form sort of way. Just quickly before I do that and open up the forum for questions, just want to make a mark about this heart lapel that I have a pin on my lapel here. Thinking and being able to listen to very successful people and be able to meet a lot of fine folks out here this morning. Every Friday on our radio show, we take a portion of our time to thank those who sacrifice through our first responders and our armed forces. And this pin is in reference and memory of a friend of mine that was killed in action in Afghanistan 15 years ago this month. And as a young news reporter, I used to comb through the AP wire in the mornings as I was collecting news headlines, and it was March 18th, 2008, that he came across the wire of the many people who were sacrificing in combat at that time in the Middle East, and his name came across the wire as I was reading it and realized that he was my school-age classmate. So on every Friday we take time, and I think about this great room of people who have enjoyed a lot of success in our region, have come from all different places to live, work, and make this place the best place possible. Without the sacrifices of so many people, millions, including many in this audience, I'm sure we would not be here. So I just wanted to make mention of that because it's an important thing for me and for all of us to recognize at least once every little while, to think about the gratitude that we should express to the people who give the most. With that said, I've got a... We gave a lot of talk about the history, the possibilities of where we can move forward to the panel and whomever wants to take it. What do you think the biggest hurdle is for the region in the next 10, 15 years as we try to establish ourselves outside of being that hospitality, tourism related industry, as we build and try to diversify what we want to bring here and how we want to build this place?
I think probably I-73. Obviously, being in real estate, I'm a big proponent of I-73, but it's not just for us in real estate. There's so much that evolves around industry, jobs, lifestyle. We've got so much to offer here, and I-73 would be such a huge, probably the biggest shot in the arm this area could ever see.
I'll add to that, besides just the interstate on the industry side, we have a real shortage of natural gas. A lot of companies need that for their burners, different type of equipment that they use in manufacturing, and that has been one of the biggest hurdles for us in applying for some of the RFIs submitted by Commerce, is you have to be within a certain amount of miles to an interstate, and you have to have natural gas, and it's not something we have an abundance of.
I would simply go back to what I talked about earlier, and that is, I think, our ability to be able to diversify our revenue stream is really critical to what kind of growth. We know we're going to have growth, but to have really outstanding growth over the span of the next decade or so, there are things that we need to be able to do. And again, we're doing a great job in a lot of areas, but there is no industry, there's no industry at all that doesn't get significantly leveraged by technology. So if we can make more of a commitment maybe to really attract not just individuals, but technology businesses here, I think that will be a tremendous boon over time to our community.
I would say two things. One is infrastructure, to make sure we have a sustainable framework around which that growth can come. And the second thing, I'll speak for Murph, I think it kind of falls to our institutions to be responsible and be responsive, to the needs of employers. Sandy talked about attracting employers here. You've got to have employees, and those employees have to go through whatever training it is. And the beauty of the South Carolina higher ed system, and there's a point of entry, whether you want to go into a certificate program, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or a professional degree. But are we being responsive to those needs of employers, and can we entice them here with the promise that we will produce a workforce concomitant to their needs?
I think I want to echo something that was said on the panel earlier. As Mr. Britton was speaking, I thought about U.S. Highway 501. And I don't know when that U.S. highway came to Myrtle Beach, but there was certainly some political process that had to be navigated to get that here. And there had to be one heck of a concerted effort to make that happen. And I think, Mr. Benson, you said, the only thing we don't really know is the history that we don't know, right? Something like that. I don't know, right? But truly, we
econ guy.
right. We could do a lot better for ourselves in the region if we acknowledge that there was a lot that's been done that we don't really actually know how it was actually done. But if we took the time to try to figure that out and make those questions and ask some people who were around and then think outside the box. I think really what this whole thing about is we got to think outside the box. I mean, there's a lot of assets around here, a lot of vacant space, a lot of buildings that are just ready to be renovated. And I mean, technology keeps coming up. I've heard of different companies come up to me several times, Web3, eMerge, different companies that have done so much. There's probably a place for them that nobody has really thought about putting together that would really change the entire downtown Myrtle Beach area.
Do we have any questions out there for the panel? I've got a list of them all day. I can go with this. This is what I do for a living. Anyone?
Yes, hello? Yes, just wanted to know, besides taxes, what other incentives can Myrtle Beach provide to technology companies to attract them and retain them?
With like DC blocks, it depends on the capital investment, the amount of jobs that's going to be offered, but usually we have a fee in lieu of taxes to reduce your taxes. And then we have a special source revenue credit that will give additional incentives off of your equipment and machinery. Then there are discretionary grants through both the state, and Horry County is one of the few counties that offer grants in addition to what the state offers. And job tax credits, job development credits. Our threshold for these incentives and the state's incentives are for larger companies, kind of like what we were saying earlier about the amount of the startups and the small businesses. It does not apply to them. So that would be employees in the range of 35 or more, a $2.5 million capital investment. The company must offer an average wage of at least $16.20 an hour now, plus health insurance and retirement to be eligible.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is that, Mike had mentioned a minute ago, whoever's coming here has got to be totally confident. They've got to know that they're going to be able to attract the right workforce to be able to get their job done. But one other thing I wanted to add relative to what Sandy's saying is that when I was talking earlier about, small cap, mid cap, I'm talking about still pretty significant sized companies, I wasn't talking about anybody. I think we've got to be very selective in terms of who we want here. So those types of companies, we'll do a great job of selling ourselves to them. I think they've got to sell themselves to us as well. We don't want just anybody in our community, but the ones that we believe are really going to come in and make a difference and add to our community from a social perspective and an economic perspective and a personal perspective. They're the ones that we should really bend over backwards to go above and beyond to get here. They got to prove themselves to us.
I think it's kind of competing with him, reluctant. I spent several years up in the Brunswick County area selling real estate. And this is strictly from the real estate end of it. They're like going, you know, why would you want to live in Myrtle Beach and all that hustle and bustle when you can live here, but go visit it? So that's kind of their sales pitch. They reluctantly cooperate with us. I mean, they do. But again, it's pretty competitive from the real estate and development standpoint of view. And you know, I'm sure in every aspect as far as attracting industry and stuff like that. I mean, obviously that's the carrot that we need and that we're looking for out there now. So there is cooperation in my opinion. And like I say, I worked up there for maybe 6 or 7 years out of my career. And you know, everybody loves everybody, but, you know, there's that competitive edge that they have in real estate and development that they want to, that they sell against us. You know, they'll sell against us, so.
We are competitive on the industry side. Pepsi was looking at Columbus County, so we laid out the red carpet to make sure we won the deal, because first of all, we didn't want to lose 146 jobs from Conway to Columbus County that were already existing either, and that facility would have closed. So I think our council was very competitive in what we offered, yes, to be able to keep them here. So I feel like we're pretty competitive with Brunswick, Columbus. We're even competitive sometimes with Marion County. It really just depends on what the project is and what the need of the company is.
Another question? One more? Anyone?
Sandy, this is probably a question for you, but last week, one of your team members and a group of us traveled to an international real estate conference, and one of the themes that we continued to hear was ESG, sustainability. That is a big initiative in Europe and in other countries that are looking to enter in the U.S. market. What opportunities do we have to increase our sustainability and our ESG rating, if you will?
I'm going to think that's a great question for Ethel. We work closely with SustainSC, so anytime that we're working through something like that, it usually goes to our project manager from Department of Commerce, and Department of Commerce works with Ethel's group to make those determinations on what we can do. But I would say for the state as a whole, I feel like we have been really proactive, and that all of our international companies felt like South Carolina was ahead of the game. So I think we're doing great, and I'm sure Ethel has some more stuff in the works for us that'll be passed down from Department of Commerce. But for right now, I think we're one of the lead states. I wouldn't say we're top 10, but I'd say we're close.
If I can give you a data point relative to your hometown university, last week we were awarded 5 stars, the highest ranking for a sustainable campus. You know what I'm talking about. You all know what LEED buildings are. That's the infrastructure, but this is what are your efforts on a daily basis to sustain your campus. We're the only public institution in South Carolina to get that, and second only to Furman. So something we should be very proud of, and I hope you can use that as you're talking to outside entities that may be interested in our community.
I just want to thank the panelists again for your wisdom, your perspective, and everyone, one more round of applause for them.